4, 3, 2. Hello everyone, and welcome to Mental Health, Spirituality, and Metaphysics Talk with Mike Ray. As always, I'm your host with Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Ray. Thank you everyone who is just joining us for the first time, or if you are rejoining us, whether you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, or if you're catching us on the replay afterwards, after the podclass, thank you for joining us. And we have a great episode ahead of us. Of course, I always say that every week, but this week, I mean it especially because we have a real treat for you. Today, I'm going to be, as promised, going over the 7 Hermetic principles found in the book, The Kabbalion Hermetic Philosophy, which is a short book for as far as mystic and esotericism goes. It is a fairly short book, but is a very dense read. So we will read a little bit about just the basics of the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece and where it originated. We will talk about how this ties into some of the other podclasses and what we've been learning on Metaphysical Sciences TV from Dr. Gil Tavan and his Inner Secrets Revealed Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tavan podclass. We will see how the two overlap, how we can apply the knowledge of both of these different philosophies and sciences, which, yes, they are a royal art science, as it is called, how we can combine the knowledge and the wisdom of both of these things and more, and as well as our background knowledge and our own experience, and how we can actually apply this to our lives, which is what we have been speaking about so far on most of the episodes here on Metaphysical Sciences TV. So, yes, I do invite you all to please watch some of the replays from the past few Metaphysical Monday episodes, which is Mental Health, Mysticism, and Metaphysics Discussion with Mike Ray and Dr. Gil Tavan, where we go even further into depth, and these are more recent episodes. Of course, we have my old episodes of this podcast, and then we have Inner Secrets Revealed, and of course, all of them will be complementing each other, and there will be more coming. There will be more uploaded. There will be more teachers, and we will be expanding Metaphysical Sciences TV and our reach. So, with that said, I would like to just dive on into it and just start reading some of these passages from the Kabbalion. Now, if I could only find where okay, here we go. Alright, so I have a PDF here. If I could just bring this up, I'll share it with you guys so you could all see. Okay, and here we go. So the Kabbalion, a study of the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece by 3 initiates. And then, of course, the big quote on here is, "The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding." Now, what does that mean? Well, we are going to answer that question. What does it mean that the lips of wisdom are sealed except to the ears of understanding? It echoes a verse from the Bible, which is that, "Let those who have ears to hear give ear." So it is telling you right in the beginning, before it even tells you what it's going to say, what the principle is, or what the idea that is being expressed is going to be. it is telling you that it is going to be talking in a type of code, or it is encrypted in multi-dimensional language, meaning it is going to mean more than one thing. It is going to have multiple meanings in multiple different scopes, or I guess scales of on the spectrum. So from the microcosm to the macrocosm and everything in between, and the macrocosms and microcosms and microcosms and macrocosms, and so on and so forth. So today, what we're going to be focusing on, because we already understand and have gone over a lot of the basics of Hermetic philosophy and mentalism and mindfulness and mental transmutation. We have gone over that actually in great depth. Now, what this all comes back to and how we can make sense of all this, if we are having trouble just understanding the knowledge before we can even begin to apply it, is to understand the 7 Hermetic principles, which are kind of like these governing rules of the universe, that there doesn't necessarily have to be an explanation for why they are the way they are. It just is what it is. And that there are 7 of these principles, and they are the divine paradox. Let me open my book here, and I will show you guys. Let me stop the screen sharing. Okay. Now, so we have here, this is my book, we have the 7 Hermetic principles. The 7 Hermetic principles are the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, the principle of rhythm, the principle of cause and effect, and the principle of gender. Today, we will be focusing mainly on the principle of mentalism, because it is the underlying principle that precedes and supersedes all others, and all others are a manifestation of this principle, which contains within it all the elements of all the other Hermetic principles. So if this is starting to sound familiar, as with, in Kabbalah, which, yes, there is actually something called Hermetic Kabbalah, which is more of a ancient Egyptian and Hermetic philosophical approach to Kabbalah. But, of course, all of these things are true. These are based on the same core truths. They're just expressed in different languages, in different ways from different cultures, in different time periods. And this is done for a reason, because it will resonate differently with each person. Each way and means of explaining the same thing, same phenomena, it will resonate with different people differently. So that is why there's so many different ways to explain the same things, and you will find a lot of common themes, and you will very quickly, once you start to stand back and examine all these different philosophies and different teachings and disciplines and doctrines, that what they have in common seems to be pretty solid and rooted in truth. And the things that they differ in, and a lot of the things that they disagree on, seem to be points of argument which cause a lot of conflict, a lot of suffering, a lot of war, but at the same time have also caused a lot of advancement, in the sense that once we gain that broader perspective and people are actually able to reach over to the other side of the fence and try to gain gain a greater perspective and understand their point of view, where they're coming from, they realize that really we are all saying the same thing in a different language. So with that, in Hermetic philosophy, in Kabbalism, it is said, for the principle of mentalism, that the all is mind, the universe is mental. So, of course, what does this mean? And of course, we will answer the question of what does it mean that the lips of wisdom are sealed except to the ears of understanding? So, the all is mind, the universe is mental. This principle of mentalism, embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all, which is the substantial underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances which we know under the terms of the material universe, the phenomena of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as an universal, infinite, living mind. So that is a mouthful. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Let me find right now on the PDF what I just read so that you guys could see this and go on with me. Okay. So, and again, the Hermetic teachings were deemed heretical by the Roman Catholic Church in the Middle Ages. So a lot of these Hermetic texts or Gnostic texts as well, are things that were left out of the Bible. And a lot of these principles, because a lot of this is steeped in Greek mythology and mysticism, a lot of it are the missing keys, in a sense, to understanding on a deeper level what a lot of these truths and things that the books like the Bible are trying to portray. So let me just share with you right now what I just read, the principle of mentalism. Okay, so the all is mind, the universe is mental. What does this mean? This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all being a substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances which we know under the terms of the material universe, the phenomena of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses is spirit, which is in itself unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as a universal, infinite, living mind. Okay, so let's just hold on right there, which is as far as I want to go for now. So, this principle embodies the truth that all is mind. The all, which is the substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances which we know under the terms of the material universe, phenomena of life, matter, energy, and in short, everything else that is apparent to our material senses. So anything that we could see, touch, hear, feel, see, smell, anything that we know of in the material universe, anything in a life, the phenomena of life itself, matter, energy, vibration, all of this is spirit, which is mind. Mind and spirit are the same. So the all, meaning everything, all, the all, is mind, and the universe itself is mental. The universe is a mental projection of the mind of the all, or as Einstein called it, the mind of God. And as it goes on to say, this mind is spirit, which is in itself unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as a universal, infinite, living mind. It also explains that all the phenomena phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation of the all, subject to the laws of created things, and that the universe as a whole and in its parts or units has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. This principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of this great hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. So let's stop right there. Okay, so that is what we are trying to get at. To apply the same, meaning to apply these principles and this knowledge and this understanding to his own well-being and advancement, to apply it to better and demonstrate better life. So let's back up for a second. We read right here that this principle of mentalism also explains that the phenomenal world or the universe is simply a mental creation of the all. So everything is a mental projection or an image in the imagination of the mind of God, the Creator, the all, everything, literally everything in its parts, as it says, or its units, has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. So we are all part of this, and it is this mind, this universal consciousness, as it is called in metaphysics, or the all, this mind of God. It is within this mind that everything dwells and everything is connected by, and it is this one universal consciousness, as we have spoken about and as we learn about in Kabbalah, that shines through and emanates through all of the different sphera, as it's called in Kabbalah, on the Tree of Life, which I'll just bring up an image of now just to refresh people's memory. And of course, you could learn more about this on the Inner Secrets Revealed Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Taban podclass. It emanates through the Tree of Life. So a great illustration is right here, where it shows the divine will, which in Kabbalah is encompassed by crown being where the source of the all, or this mind, or in this illustration, the divine will is encompassed, and then the divine will is then it's fractalized downward until it gets to the will of the universe, eventually the human collective will, the collective will of every human being on the planet or in creation in the universe, and then of course down all the way to our body's will. And this of course is showing the top three sphera on the Tree of Life, and the top one is where the spirit, as you can see in this illustration, where it is 3D, spirit is the top sphera, or the crown. So everything is coming through the crown and into the rest of the body. So it is emanating the macrocosm, and within that macrocosm, microcosms, which are macrocosms within microcosms within macrocosms, and so on and so forth, until eventually you get from the all. You have, let me try to find a better illustration. Here we go. You have the Ein Sof, or the limitless light, or the Ein Sof Or in Kabbalah. This is the all. This is the mind of God. And when it gets to us, it is then shined through these prisms, or these sphera on the tree of life, each one having its own color, its own vibration, its own frequency, and of course then interpreted by us as having its own attributes, its own characteristics or personality traits as they manifest within us. And this keeps going on, and you could see that the principle of mentalism, how this one mind, the all, pervades through everything, not only in the macrocosmic scale, in the universe with the planets and solar systems and galaxies all throughout the universe, but also within the inner universe, the you-universe, the universe inside you. And you are made up of many parts and many pieces. And all of this is culminating in the fact that the all is mind and the universe is mental. And by understanding this, as it is written in the Kabbalion, we can then, once we understand this, we can then begin to apply these principles to our lives. So let's continue on this principle. By establishing the mental nature of the universe easily explains all the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, meaning the principle of mentalism, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of this great Hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe, which means to understand them and to be ready to use them, and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. The Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws instead of using them in a haphazard manner. With the master key in his possession, which is the knowledge and understanding of these principles and of these universal truths, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge and enter the same freely and intelligently. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all these things are subordinate to the mastery of mind. Why we are able to control these things and regulate these things and manage them with the mind, because it explains that there is the one mind, the all, and the universe, its mental nature to it. Everything is spirit, or everything is a mental projection of the all, this mind of God. And as it says here, as one of the old Hermetic masters wrote long ages ago, he who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery. And of course, mastery, as we know it, is being able to understand and comprehend things on a level where you are able to not only produce a result, but you are able to control the results that you get from any action, and that you are able to understand which reactions you will get from which actions. And these words are as true today as at the time as they were first written. Without this master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knocks in vain at the many doors of a temple. Now, before we move any further, we will just say that the temple, of course, as we know, is ourselves. The temple is our body. So going back to what we said about the body being a temple for this the all, this mind of God, to pervade through in all its different emanations. Just take a minute to reflect on these words, and if you will just give me just a moment, I will be right back. I'm going to read some of the comments, and I will be right back with you in a moment. Okay, and we are back, hopefully. Thank you guys for waiting, sticking with me. We were having some technical difficulties. Let me just make sure, see if we have any more viewers. Unfortunately, we've lost a couple viewers, but that is okay. In the replay for Metaphysical Sciences TV on YouTube, or if you are watching us on YouTube right now, you won't have to sit through that prolonged wait period. So, back to what we were saying. So, we have the 7 Hermetic principles, of which there is one underlying superseding principle, which all the others are manifestations of, which is the principle of mentalism. This is echoed again, or complemented, in the philosophy and teachings of Kabbalah, which is that we have the Ein Sof, which is the limitless, or the Ein Sof Or, the limitless light, which is the next step in this, this evolution of the mind of God, or the all, as it's called in Hermetic philosophy, and the Kabbalion, as I'm reading from here. And like in Kabbalah, it emanates through to other, attributes and characteristics. The other Hermetic principles being correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. Now, in Hermetic Kabbalah, the two, obviously, they complement each other. So where is the link, or in the words of the Hermetic masters, where is the key that unlocks the door that shows how these things are all connected? Okay, so if we understand the principle of mentalism, that everything in the universe, including ourselves, is a mental projection of the all, this one singular universal consciousness, which we call the mind of God, that we are all a living manifestation of this, and that is through this principle that all other principles manifest, and that all other things are made possible, and explain all of the psychic and immaterial and metaphysical phenomena that we experience in our present day. Now, this is echoed again in modern science when we talk about the fundamental forces of nature. We have strong and weak nuclear bonds, and we have gravity, we have electromagnetism, and we also have quite possibly now discovered definitively that there is a fifth fundamental force of nature, which is consciousness, which is the conscious observer of all of these other forces of nature, which it projects. So it is a continuum, or as the Kabbalion puts it, a paradox, the divine paradox, how something can be created out of nothing. But again, our mind, because we are all part of something, we're all part of the all, we can't comprehend what nothing is. Literally, if there was no thing, what would be there to observe it? There would be no observer. So understanding what is meant by the all is mind and the universe is mental, when we really look at that, when we really look at that statement, the all is mind and the universe is mental, it is telling us the same thing in two different ways, and it is telling us two different things, which bring us to a third conclusion. The all is mind. So everything is mental. Everything is mind. Everything is part of this one singular universal consciousness that pervades through everything. And the universe is mental. Now, the universe contains things that are inanimate, just material that is not endowed with any type of intelligence whatsoever, or so we believe, or so we are fooled into believing, because of this illusion of the all, this mental projection. The entire universe is mental, and the universe, which is contained within the all, which is mental, comes from the mind of the all. The all is mind, the universe is mental. So the universe, which is a mental projection, is being observed by the mind, which is all mental, or as some would call it, spiritual or metaphysical. Now, if we skip down to the next principle of the seven Hermetic principles, the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, so above, or as below, so above. This principle embodies a truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. The old Hermetic axiom ran in these words: as above, so below; as below, so above. And grasping this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox and hidden secret of nature. There are planes beyond our knowing, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. For example, understanding the principle of mentalism and how it corresponds, because of the principle of correspondence, how it corresponds to us and our relationship to our external environment, the world around us, other people, how we are connected to other people, and of course, how our actions and how their actions correspond to ours, and ultimately, how we can become masters of our own fate and of our own destiny, and how we can stop being influenced by the universe and its many emanations and mental projections, and how we, with our own divine mind, tapping into that universal consciousness, can begin to influence things and change from within our outward and external environment and circumstances. And that is how we begin to apply these things, truly apply these things to our life, is when we begin to live it and understand it. And once we begin to live it and understand it, we begin to see things from a different perspective. And once we see things from a different perspective, because the all is mind and the universe is mental, if we change our perception, if we change our mind, we quite literally change the world. It is not something that is, it doesn't go not taken for granted, that when somebody is in a good mood, things seem to be better. For example, when somebody is in an overall happy state and they're in a positive vibration, they enjoy the same foods that they typically would, they enjoy the same music they typically would, they enjoy hanging out with friends or family that they usually do, and yet when they're having a bad day, they might want to isolate, or they might want to try to remove themselves from any social situations or not listen to the same types of music. Maybe the types of food that they were once, very much, attracted to, maybe they can't stand the taste of it anymore. And it's all because of a perception shift. The food didn't change, the music didn't change, the people around them didn't change, the circumstances did not change. The only thing that did change was something from within them. So something from within you can change to make your external environment seem more unbearable and more unmanageable and more chaotic. Then you can apply that same principle of having a perception shift and a shift of mind to then make things shift to a positive polarity. And we have talked about this, about mental transmutation, which is basically what this process is. And of course, understanding how mental transmutation is even possible and why it works is the master key to actually getting it to work. And of course, this isn't something that comes easily. This isn't something that comes overnight. This isn't something that can even be understood just from reading a book or thinking about it for a couple of days. This is something that takes some people years, if not entire lifetime, to actually understand. So if it is something that you feel you are potentially beginning to grasp and you are starting to understand, and this is something that you feel attracted to, and you truly feel as if you are being pulled, like a magnetic pull towards this type of knowledge and information, and that even beyond just wanting to know these things, you have the desire to learn how to use them to your advantage and how to apply them to better your own life and your external environment and the lives of those around you, then this might be something you want to really start to dive deeper into, because it is the master key, which is understanding this wisdom so that you can begin to act on it. And once you understand this wisdom and your mind is shifted, then you'll begin to see, and it is just a fact, that you will begin to see certain signs. You will be led, you will be gravitated towards making the decisions that you want to, that you have utilized the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, rhythm, cause and effect. You put all these together, plus all the knowledge that you've accumulated and all of your experience. Of course, experience is a big part of it. We learn by trial and error. No matter how good of a mentor or teacher you have, or whether you have many teachers or no teachers, we all have to learn for our own, and especially something as deeply personal and intimate as mental transmutation, and actually applying the knowledge of mysticism and metaphysical sciences to our lives, and using the hidden or sacred powers of the divine mind within us to control and conquer our own fate and control our own destiny, so that we are no longer slaves to our stars and the revolution of the stars. We conquer our stars. We rule the constellations. We no longer have to worry about our horoscopes or our forecasts or our blood tests, or we don't have to worry about what the mundane, what the material says about us, what other people say about us. All that matters is what the divine mind of the all, what the universe is saying, not to us, but through us. And understanding what is meant by that statement is the next level, which is answering the question, or at least entering the territory of answering the question of who am I and what am I here for? Which, if we are all part of the all, we are all part of this divine mind, and if the universe is mental and everything else is a part of it, we are a part of everything. Everything is a part of us, and we are intimately connected with this, and through the principle of correspondence, anything that happens above or in the macrocosm happens in the microcosm, and anything that happens in the microcosm happens in the macrocosm. So there is a cause and effect, also another principle of Hermeticism. There's a cause and effect, which anything that is done, putting it plainly in plain English that most people would understand, anything that is done on the physical and material plane affects what goes on in the spiritual or immaterial or the other side of reality, and anything that happens there affects this. And thus we have the mind, body, spirit connection, or mind, body, soul connection. Soul, of course, is that spark of the spirit, or the one consciousness, the all, the mind of God that shines through us. In Kabbalah, we know this as the spark of the Creator, that, or the light of the Creator, that we hold within us as a temple of the Spirit. So while the Spirit may be the all, and our soul is a part of the Spirit or the all, the soul is not the all itself. So the pieces are not equal to the whole. However, one piece cannot do without the other. In the Bible, this is described, and I believe in Corinthians, it describes the power of the body of Christ, how the eye cannot say to the foot that the foot is not necessary, and the foot cannot say to the eye that it is not necessary, because the foot needs the eye to see where it is going, where it's stepping, and the foot and the eye needs the foot to move where it wants to go and where it sees it wants to go. Of course, I'm paraphrasing and adding my own spin onto it, just to elaborate further on these principles and help to give a better understanding of these things. So, what is really meant by all of this, when we come down to understanding applied mysticism, and how we can actually apply these things to our life to enact real change. And by real change, I mean things and results from our actions within our mind that start within us, that bring about a external change. On a very small scale, or a microcosmic scale, this could be something as simple as forgiving one of your enemies, forgiving somebody who hurt you or offended you, just going up to them and forgiving for only forgiveness' sake, because you are better than that, and you don't want that negativity around you. So you forgive them, and they have a change of heart. It could be something as simple as you are hungry, so you eat something, and not only does it satisfy your hunger, but it also tastes good, so it satisfies your need for gratification or for satisfaction beyond that which is needed for your survival. So it is not just surviving, but it is thriving. And that is what applied mysticism and metaphysics is all about, is trying to learn how to not just survive and, living on the bare minimum and using the bare minimum of our potential, but rather combining all of these things together within our body, so that we can understand and be wise enough to act accordingly to the divine will of the universe, or the mind of the all, the mind of God, so that we are doing the will of God on earth. We are creating heaven on earth. And with each person who begins to do this, we start to get a ripple effect, and domino effect, and butterfly effect. And of course, through cause and effect, we get a greater and greater and greater outcome. And of course, this can go, because of the principle of polarity, this could go in one of two ways. It could go negative, or it could go positive, or it could be balanced. And that is what we want to reach within ourselves. We want to reach a state of balance, because if there wasn't a need for these things, for both the light and the dark, both the negative and the positive, they wouldn't exist, and they can't exist without each other. There has to be this duality, this dualistic nature of good and evil, light and dark, yin and yang, and they mix together, and there is the good in the bad, and there is the bad in the good. And we have to understand how to balance that within ourselves, so that we can then more accurately act and react and respond to our external environments, to get a more balanced environment where it is not all dark and it is not all light. Yes, there will always be sides of the spectrum. There will always be areas of life where it is all good and areas where it is just miserable and suffering. But these two extremes are necessary, and the whole point is to try to not be in one extreme or the other. You don't want to be too carefree and, okay, everything is going to be all right, God's going to take care of everything, everything's going to be fine, because then you won't act on anything. You don't want to be stuck in everything is going to be miserable and, and everything is evil, the world's a horrible place, because then you won't act on anything, because what's it worth? You want to find a common denominator, a balance, where it's just, okay, there is good in the world and there is bad in the world. I am making this choice from the center of it to do everything righteously and justly according to how the divine will sees it fit to balance the scales of justice, so that there is no true suffering in the end, that all these individuals and all these things that are on these extremes slowly come together and join to one and are completely balanced, and we reach a state of universal homeostasis and a collective consciousness of, or what we would call Christ consciousness. And we are all in a state of bliss and joy and happiness. But of course, that is not without understanding that misery and darkness and all these things that we would describe as negative do still exist. We just choose not to focus on them. And we choose also to do something about anyone who is stuck in this darkness and in this negativity and wants to get out of it and turn to the light. And of course, we have to reach out to the light. They can't, beings of light will not, angels, so to speak, will not intervene, and they will not take away our free will. They won't take away our freedom to choose between good and bad, or light and dark, positive and negative. We have to work our way out of the pits and the depths of darkness and hell to be able to reach out to the hand of our Savior or the angels and be lifted up to the glory and the paradise of heaven. And that is not just a metaphor, or parable, or a good sentiment for what happens after we die and after our consciousness and after our soul leaves this physical body and physical vessel. It is also a great reflection of what our soul and what our mind is doing while we are still in this body. And while we are still in this body and we have the mind-body-soul connection joined and we are alive, as long as we are alive, there is hope. And what hope? The hope of making a better tomorrow. And if it wasn't for that hope of making a better tomorrow, well, then we would all be doomed, and there would be no point of making any of these videos in the first place. There would be no point of trying or even getting up in the morning, and yet, for what seems like an eternity, human beings have been doing this, and we have been progressing, and we have been evolving. And I, for one, am personally delighted to see where humanity is going in our next stages of evolution and what it will look like. And I know for a fact it will be beautiful, it will be great, and I can only hope and pray that it will be a balanced future, and that it will be one of great prosperity and one of a lot of positivity and happiness and joy, but again, not without acknowledging it. There still are going to be people who suffer, and there still is going to be pain in the world. The point is to try to ease that pain and lessen it and try to make it as least painful as possible so that life actually becomes enjoyable and not just bearable. Okay, I would like to thank everybody for joining us who did. Tonight we had no questions, but I would like to just invite everybody to tune in to tomorrow's podcast, Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah Class with Dr. Gill, where we will be going even further in depth into what we have spoken about so far about, Kabbalah and the Etzchaim, which is the Kabbalistic tree of life, and of course how that relates to Hermetic philosophy and Hermetic principles. We will find out. We are now moving into learning. We've learned all Sephira or Sphira on the tree of life, so we know all these different emanations, all these different attributes. We know, the crown. We know the wisdom. We know understanding. We know victory. We know the pillar of severity, and the pillar of mercy, and the middle pillar where the heart is found, and also the crown. And now we are going to be learning about the different paths that connect all of them, and the sacred governing Hebrew letters, which, of course, Hebrew is as we discussed in previous podclasses, Hebrew is a divine tongue, a divine language. These sounds they have sacred, divine quality to them, and so do also the shapes of the letters. So we will be learning more about this, and of course, this is also more knowledge that we can begin to use to apply to our everyday lives and demonstrate a better life for ourselves and those around us. So please, I invite you all to tune in again next week for another episode of Mental Health, Spirituality, and Metaphysics Talk with yours truly. Please, if you guys are watching on YouTube, click on the like button wherever it may be and hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications on when new videos will be posted and new podclasses. Every Wednesday starting next week, we will be uploading question and answer videos for any questions that we didn't get to address during the podcast, because, of course, sometimes we are constrained for time. So we will be answering questions in videos every Wednesday, and taking any questions that you guys have. So if you would like to leave them in the comments section, if you would like to message me, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on the Mental Health, Spirituality, Mysticism, and Metaphysics Facebook group. You could reach out to me on Metaphysical Sciences TV. You could also reach out to Dr. Gil Tavon. His email is drgiltavon@gmail.com, or you could find him, Gil Bisham Tavon, on Facebook. And again, I thank you all for coming tonight, and everyone who watched. And I would like to just invite you all to come back next week and to continue to watch the rest of the podclasses, including tomorrow's Inner Secrets Revealed, and Monday, which will be Dr. Gil Tavon's class for Metaphysical Mondays, the Mental Health, Mysticism, and Mental Health, Mysticism, and Metaphysics discussion with Mike Gray, this guy here, and Dr. Gil Tavon, who teaches Inner Secrets Revealed and Kabbalah classes. So we have a lot of great things that will be coming up on Metaphysical Sciences TV, as well as on social media and all the groups. So I encourage you guys, please share this with anybody who you think might find this interesting. Please reach out to me if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints. And I thank you all again. And I bid you all a good afternoon, morning, night, whatever time it is, whenever you're watching this, wherever you are. Thank you all for joining us. I will see you next time. Thank you.